Good evening, everyone, and welcome to yet another session of BSmart Business Standard webinar. And we welcome all the students, the faculties, the panelists who have joined us virtually for this webinar. It gives me immense pleasure to say that we have been running this webinar successfully for 2 consecutive years now. Every month, we do a case study contest, and that is followed by this webinar by the end of every month, where we, of course, invite industry experts and academicians across India and discuss a topic. We also announce the winners of the case study competition in this webinar, followed after we are done with discussing the topic. So the topic of discussion for this particular webinar today is Noise to Notice, Branding Masterstroke on Media Buzz. We have an esteemed panel of experts today who will discuss on the topic. And after this, we will move on with announcing the results of the June case study contest and also reveal the case study for next month. So first and foremost, please join me to welcome the elite panelists we have with us today. I welcome Mr. Rishi Murkya. Mr. Murkya is currently Chief Marketing Officer in RSPL. He's a marketing professional with around 2 decades of brand management experience with the likes of Hindustan Unilever and Dr. Reddy's. He's skilled at building and managing end-to-end innovation pipelines and launch management across multiple markets in South Asia, Southeast Asia, and Middle East. He has also driven performance management and business transformation across the verticals of marketing, sales, sustainable sourcing, and supply chain. So, we welcome you, Mr. Rishi Murkya, to this webinar. We are glad to have you with us today.
Pleasure to be here.
Next, we have Dr. Srilata Jonalagedda. Dr. Srilata is a professor in marketing at the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. Her research areas include market design, premium pricing, and digital marketing. Her work has been published in leading journals like Management Science, Manufacturing, and Service Operations Management, and the IIMB Management Review. She held the IIMB Chair of Excellence from 2016 to 2019. Most recently, she has consulted with the Tea Board of India for restructuring tea auctions. We welcome you, Dr. Srilata. We are glad to have you with us today.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Next, we have Dr. Angeline Gautami Fernando. Dr. Fernando is an associate professor, digital and social media marketing, business analytics, and program director, PGDM, Great Lakes, Chennai. She has around 8 years of experience in the IT industry and 10 years in academics. Her teaching interests include marketing analytics, digital and social media marketing, web analytics, and business analytics. So most of her research works have been published in reputed international journals, including the European Journal of Marketing, Journal of Advertising, and Marketing Intelligence and Planning. A very grand welcome, Dr. Fernando. We are pleased to have you with us today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So let us start, discussing the topic, and let us start with the first question. Mr. Murkya, we would start with you. How has marketing evolved over the last 5 years, and how has the rise of AI changed the marketing strategies?
So, Abhishek, I think a couple of things. What really AI has done is made pretty much a level playing field for everybody in marketing. Because, the pedigree that or the exposure that you would have had as a marketer growing up in levers versus somewhere else now doesn't really hold true, because AI makes everybody pretty much intelligent at the same pace or the same level. So the base marketing isn't very different anymore. So your starting ground is much higher than what it used to be maybe a couple of decades back. What AI has definitely brought to business is basically a lot of speed and a lot of personalization and the ability to do it at scale. And that's really changing the way marketing is now happening. And I think as a resultant, what marketers now need to do, and almost everybody in the industry needs to do, is actually really adapt to not just saying that, listen, I'll get one big idea and life is sorted. It is about really saying that, how do I make sense of the data? how do I make sense of what is happening? Because there are still trends, and as marketers, it's a lot more data for you to really process. Because while there is a lot of data, it's still we're living in a broken world full of broken data. Because we would have a lot of data pieces coming in, and then you have to algorithmically connect because not every data is there for you to really deduce insights out of it. And so that how do I change? But I think it's become way faster. I think that's the big impact. Much more specialization and a lot more uh, level playing field for marketing. So it's no more an advantage if you were at a large organization now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Murgia. We will move on to Dr. Srilata. Your views on this?
Yeah, Abhishek, I think slightly complimentary some of the things that Mr. Rishi said. I agree. I would say, like, fundamentally, the that brands have to, understand their connection with the customer. I don't think that has changed. What has changed is, we used to be like very text world, and I think the shifts have been like the content type is shifted more to voice, video. I think that is one big shift. Another thing which is, I think it's constantly evolving, as I'd like to say that, you know, there is abundance of data, right? But literally poverty of attention, because yes, we are flooded, but so is our attention. So we are not able to focus. And I think the biggest challenge is like, how do we get that 4 seconds, 8 seconds of focus? We know that, maybe on an average customer spend about maybe 4 to 6 hours on their devices, but do we get 8 seconds of their attention? It's not really clear. So brands are competing for that attention. And I think the third thing I want to say is, we I mean, the vehicles have fundamentally changed, but the principles have not really changed. So what AI is doing right now is it's making it like, I think, as Mr. Rishi said, there are many channels and it's a level playing field, but there are too many channels now, and you have to be very careful, strategic about where you want to be, because if you end up in the wrong place, the cost of that is very high. So I think those choices, sharpening the proposition, like I can't just say I'm selling online groceries, right? You may have to sharpen it. I'm 10-minute delivery, or like now, or whatever it is. And yes, there is Twitter, there is Instagram, there is, there is uh, blogging, your traditional TV world. There's so many alternatives. Do I really want to be everywhere? And at the end of the day, our resources are limited. I think those things are not changing, but yeah, certainly that's my view. That, yeah.
Abhishek, I want to add to what Shrilata
Sure,
was
sure.
saying, and it kind of really caught my attention too. I think one fundamental change that has happened, not more from a marketing or anything. I think the fact that there are so much choices now has really reduced the attention of our consumers. And I think Shrilata was referring to it, which is getting them to notice a brand is so much more difficult than it was ever before. Not because they are not seeing the screen or they are not listening, but the attention span is really narrow. So so much more difficult to do marketing now from that perspective.
Thank you so much. We will quickly move on to Dr. Fernando and have her views as well.
Thank you. So I agree with both the panelists. Yes, it has become much more tougher, and of course, consumer behavior has changed. But as Mr. Rishi pointed out, so we have AI is no longer a tool; it's become a capability. And right now, we have interconnected capability, the pace at which it's growing, and therefore it aids marketing actually. So when you look at hyper personalization, so the panelists mentioned that we are able to do it at scale. So let's say if one of Nika is able to capture your preferences over a quiz over time within the same day, they can use AI and recommendation engines to target. So it's no longer demographic segmentation, or so it's personalized attention to individual customers. So that's the capability that AI has brought into marketing. So understand the customer better. And of course, yeah, attention span is definitely a problem. And right now we have the rise of zero click search. The consumer is not interested in searching the traditional way. And 20 years, whatever Google has done, AI has appended since 2022 with ChatGPT coming in, and customers only looking up answer engines. So that again now kind of reduces the marketers' presence online. So how do people search? So how do we capture their attention? So yeah, so marketing is there's definitely a very strong influence, and I agree with the panelists when they say that it's become a bit more tougher with AI.
Dr. Fernando, we will start the next question with you. Of course, you are among one of the mentors who are shaping and nurturing, grooming the next crop of marketing professionals. So, how do you balance teaching the basics like the 4 Ps with the evolution of modern digital and social channels? How are you kind of integrating AI literacy into your marketing courses?
I would like to agree with Dr. Srilata on this. The fundamentals have not changed, right? Understanding the consumer is essential, and the 4 Ps and how they relate to the customers and all and everything else matters. But what we try to do is we try to integrate something that is common and but it's related to the concept. For example, let's say there's something on market research, and the students are developing a new product. Maybe we try to help them understand that market research can be done with synthetic persona now. So we point out examples and give them labs where they can practice this. But we also talk to them about the limitations of this usage. Or they could be probably bring in tools where we show that product design can be done using such AI-based tools very quickly. But still, it's very essential to understand what the customer wants. Or you have to use a strategic scoring model to understand which of this is viable for the business, right? Fundamentally, unit economics would matter in case they have to launch something. So we make sure that the fundamentals are still there, but of course, it's augmented workplace in the future. So we do make sure that they work with the right tools, but we make sure that the concept they don't miss out on the concepts.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fernando. I could also see Dr. Srilata very eagerly waiting, to express her take on this particular
Yeah,
question.
I,
Yes, Dr. Srilata, please.
I'm wondering, like, I'm going to be sounding very controversial, but I will say it anyway because I have very strong views on this.
No, this is the
But
correct
see,
platform. This is the exactly the correct platform to, sound controversial also. Please be.
yeah. See, I don't think we need to do anything about AI literacy. Okay, it's not even a question. Like, people are not waiting for our permission to learn any AI tools. It's ambient, it's there. You give it or not. So, literacy, fluency, these are things that we don't have to worry about. In fact, abstinence and judgment. I think these are more important right now because I'm going to draw a parallel. AI to education is like fast food to health. Okay, uh, it's convenient. It's efficient. I think Rishi mentioned it's fast. You have all those things, but we are disconnected from the roots. If we just go back to just learning itself, before we go to like synthesis and creation, there is something about memorizing things. There is something about understanding things. There's something about applying things. AI is very good at the higher order, but the lower order. So if you talk about most of us in this panel, we are not digital natives. We have learned the hard way. We've done the hard work. And so now if AI says something, we are able to parse out junk from, and what it is giving us and what we are giving up. My caution is that if we embrace, like we as educators embrace AI like the youngsters are, I don't think we are doing doing disservice to them, in my view. I think, in fact, I'm just teaching core marketing, the first course in marketing. And I know that they will resort to AI to summarize cases, learn whatever. In class, no devices. In class, we are learning from the roots. And I'll just give you one example, and probably Rishi may be able to relate to this. A few years ago, maybe almost a decade ago, I had gone to with a field visit with an HUL marketing person, Kolkata and suburbs. And the idea was to go look at, they were trying to introduce their Vim gel, and wanted to see the viability in the market. We went there. I was, just observation, right? And we realized that they fundamentally, like, there was an issue with the Vim bar, like, the one that comes in boxes. And the marketing person asked the retailer, hey, why aren't Vim sales taking off here? And the retailer said, no, they are taking off. And then he actually pointed to something that was a local brand, and he said, this is what people want. It's not Vim, it's called some other thing, mirror or whatever, Aina or something. And he said, this is when people ask for Vim and they take this. So for them, Vim is, whatever works. And the insight that he gave the retailer, why do they want this? Is it more effective? Is it what? He said, it's the shape of the dabba. It's round. It works as a tiffin box. And so people buy it, and once the soap is over, they use it to, send food for kids to school. Where is that insight going to come from? I don't know, sitting on AI. So I have very strong views that AI gives you efficiency, but before we target efficiency, we need to target engagement. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Srilata. We can't keep Mr. Murkia waiting, quietly for so long. So, Mr. Murkia, the next question is, of course, to you. In the past, we have seen instances where there has been a sudden social media buzz around a product or a service, unexpected, accidental ones, maybe, which even the brand may not have, expected. My question to you is, how do you actually decide if, say, for example, if there is a social media buzz around your brand or any other brands, how do you decide if you need to capitalize on that buzz or skip it as it may be just a passing fad?
So, Abhishek, I think the first thing is that what category are you in makes it very important. So, if you're a media celebrity, any kind of buzz is a great thing for you. Bad publicity is equally good for you. But when you're actually doing business of brands and which are very deep rooted into mass scale, and they're not fashion brands, but it's more consumer centric, more rooted to values, you can't really go off because it can rub off sentiments from people. Especially in the current times where we are hyper conscious about how we feel. And hence, it's a very important thing that what is your brand fitment and what is the reason why you are getting, the social hype or why the trend or the conversation starting around you. And if you have a very central message to your brand philosophy or to what you want to build onto your brand, is something that is helping getting communicated in the language or in the emotion, to bring alive what the brand needs to communicate, you should definitely ride onto it. But if you feel that there is a chance of it going off or it becoming off, it's a better idea to let it pass. Honestly, because the window of execution is very limited when you're actually trying to catch these fads, and there are much higher chances of going wrong rather than getting right. So what we do as a practice, we often also have the thing that is a thing plan a campaign which will go off or will go your way. So what's your response? Do you have a backup plan? Do you have a plan of execution when it will capture? Because while we are in the digital world and we can create very quickly, I think they have tags attached to that. So simple rule: how does the fad kind of really working for me? Does it really help me bring alive my message? Helps me build or strengthen my brand promise or my proposition to the consumers? I should definitely go in and ride onto it and in fact burn on to make it bigger.
Thank you so much, Mr. Murkia. We'll move on to Dr. Srilata and have her views on this.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with Mr. Rishi in the sense that he's like there's money here, and marketing is a lot of times viewed as a cost center. So you don't want to uh, ride on. So I mean, I can talk about like one example that at least I've interacted with. Years ago, Skoda had a big customer service problem. Spare parts were unavailable, consumers were unhappy. Great brand, great product, but they had to deal with this. And what was showing up in social media was not some buzz that was just like passing phase. It pointed out to underlying systemic problems that they needed to fix, and they didn't do it by just doing a social media blitz, right? They had to go back and fix what was not working, the availability of spare parts and so on. So yeah, there is a brand fit, there is also the overall fit with your organization, and more importantly, there is limited resources. So you cannot do everything, so you have to pick and choose.
Thank you so much, Dr. Srilata. The next question again, we'll start with you. Now that we have touched upon branding, what are some of the top branding lessons that MBA students can take from their classes and implement them in the corporate world?
I think, I mean, it's obviously not related to AI or whatever, but to be able to understand what you stand for, um, so branding takes time. That's something that it's almost like you invest in fitness. It takes a long time, and then you can undo it with some really bad week of binge eating, right? So I'd say first is that it takes time and it takes consistency, and you have to be patient to build brand. And once you do that, like I think that the equity can serve you a long time. You don't want to do things that are antithetical to the brand. So, like, I'm sure many would have heard of what Tanish tried to do with the Ekatvam, or what I think Dabur tried to do with their phlegm bleach, the Karwa Chauth ad. These are, I think, two examples that I can come up with where the brand is trying to do something that not naturally a fit, and then it can kind of lead into if you have built strong equity, then maybe your loss is temporary, but it's still a loss and you have to work on recovering. But if the equity is not very high, then it's much harder to recover. So I think fit, understanding your customer, what you stand for, that it takes time, patience, consistency, hard work. I think those are the key lessons, I would say. And branding is, everyone knows this, but I'm going to say it anyway. And probably Mr. Rishi will add based on his experience that there are a lot of pillars. The brand rests on a foundation of the core value proposition. So we cannot forget that. Like it doesn't happen in isolation. So yeah.
So I would quickly come to Dr. Fernando if you are willing to add up anything to this.
I would like to add on to the bus and the branding
Yeah,
part.
sure, please.
Yeah, so how that works. So as both the panelists pointed out, yes, category is very important, but I still feel that certain brands which have their DNA rooted in humor, for example, Zomato gets away with a lot of humor and bus generation online. So even there, it's on the nature of the brand, as Mr. Mukhya already pointed out. So product category fit matters. So one is Zomato or maybe Creds, Rahul Dravid. So conversation. So branding can work online, and of course, depends, as Professor pointed out, as long as they understand their segment, and if it's the segment that is going to appreciate these memes, if it's going to appreciate humor, it's definitely going to resonate with the brand. And a brand like Tanish may not, it may not work for such a, I mean, cultural and other issues may not work. So, yeah. So it depends on the product category and the brand nature.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fernando. I will come back to the branding lessons question. Mr. Murkia, you have actually gone through the transition from business school to the corporate world. So that question to you, I mean, your views, would love to have your views on, what are some of the top branding lessons that you could probably take on from the MBA classes and then implement them in the corporate world?
So, Abhishek, I'll actually tell you this with an interesting story.
Please.
So, I did start my career as a writer with an ad agency. And out of college, bumming with ideas, you wanted to really change the world. You wanted to write the wildest copy. You wanted to really win cons. And then I moved to Unilever. And I think I learned the hardest lesson and the most important lesson of business, which is branding is all about consistency. You just have to show up every day, every minute, every second with the same proposition that you promise. And that's when, and that's how you build strong brands. Uh, I think as a marketer, the biggest thing is to kill the desire in you of doing something different every now and then. But be consistent and be interesting. So it's not necessarily that you have to tell the same story. You can tell the same story in many interesting ways, but you have to tell the same story of the brand. I think that's one big, really important lesson that I've learned in my career, uh, which I can part on.
Thank you so much, Mr. Murkia. Mr. Murkia, we have touched upon, social media. We have discussed about it. We want to dive into details about the social media thing. Today, how do you integrate social media with other channels to maximize brand visibility? And, you also need to think about allocation of resources. You are limited resources. You have that resource constraint. So, how do you strategize on allocation of resources towards the different marketing channels?
So, Abhishek, I think the first thing is it's become extremely important to integrate social. You can't really leave it out because your consumers pretty much move there. And that's the only channel which is available for you if you want to reach them. I think it depends on two factors. So who's first your TG? So if you're really talking to urban uh, population which have a little bit of financial freedom, access to mobile, then social is extremely important part because that's where they're spending their lives. If you're still talking to somebody who's in the rural, dependent on a shared mobile with limited data access and limited data time, then TV could still be your partner. I think the way I see that marketing now is changing is that earlier when I started my career, you would make really big campaign, very big thought, and you will run one film, and you'll be like, this is done, sorted for next 1 year, 2 years or so, and you will just basically want everybody to see that film. I think it's changing now. You aren't really making one big, very big film. You're making multiple small films, which kind of connect back to your multiple big idea because. You have to make it more conversational rather than broadcasting, which is saying that, hey, I've got a product, it's a great product, use it. It's really getting into the conversation with consumers. And I think when you're actually trying to do that with social, it becomes easier. So a lot of time, the content that you're building through influencers or directly needs to really spark conversation because that's the only way you can get attention. So I think we spend a lot of time, money, energy in terms of saying that how do we make it more conversational rather than just passing on the information. A lot of times we just basically pick up the asset that we have and still build conversations around our asset to get people to be more engaged in the conversation. But to give you an answer, it's become extremely important. I think it is a large part of our monies because people aren't really interested in listening to ads. But if it's an interesting conversation that they can be part of it, they can express their view or they can share something about it. It's shareable because that makes them laugh or makes them think or ponder. I think then you do a good job. Otherwise, the old idea of advertising with TV still stays for the bottom of the pyramid.
Thank you so much, Mr. Murkia. We'll quickly come to Dr. Srilata and, if you will be willing to add on to anything here.
Um, just one thing it occurred. I was talking to the CEO of a dating platform, and one of the question was, how is AI changing? I realized that a lot of these apps that people use nowadays, they have chatbots. And the thing with chatbots is this conversation that Mr. Rishi is talking about, that people feel more comfortable asking random questions to chatbot, whether it is, a big basket, a healthify me, whatever. You feel like, I can be a little untethered, and and those conversations give a lot more information about the customer, not just like demographics, where you are, the GPS, what you're searching, but more psychographics, like what is this persona. So what I was told is that actually, like, AI is helping, especially those integrated with chatbots, to build persona of their customers, and it is helping them, like, do hyper customization or hyper target personalization. I think it's, yeah, it is actually in a non-intrusive way getting little more information as valuable information. So I think that's something that occurred to me as Mr. Rishi was talking, wanted to add here. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Srilata. We'd like to ask Dr. Fernando if you would want to add anything here.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, social is definitely important, as Mr. She pointed out. If the customers are there, then obviously the brand has to be there. And in today's world, today's consumers look for authenticity, and they rely on social media for authenticity. So they look at their peers, so they look at peer reviews, and they rely on, say, nano influencers, small time vernacular, local language speaking regional influencers. So they trust them more rather than a TV ad from, say, a star cricketer. So research also shows that. So they value authenticity, and therefore, of course, social media matters more to the brand. That's one. Another thing that I would like to say is, if you look at what Google does, so if Google updates right now on the AI search, that AI mode that they give us is largely from social media. So Reddit, or Quora, or that's where the discussions are from. So therefore, the brand needs to be present there if they want the customer to find them. So rather than TV right now spending there, so these kind of investing in social media presence actually matters more for the brand in today's world.
Sorry, if I may just add something here, that I think it's more a question or a thought that I want to share, that social media is important, but also brands cannot usurp it, because in trying to make conversations, if there if there is a heavy handed presence, then I think customers will, the authenticity and the credibility reduces. So I'm guessing maybe Mr. Rishi can talk about it if he has any experience. That they have to really tread this fine line between making sure they're present, but they're not intrusive. So it's a tightrope walk, I think, for brands.
So, Shalata, I can share you an example of, a recent campaign that we did. On one of our sanitary napkin brands, Proease, we wanted to communicate on Menstrual Hygiene Day. Now, generally, if you would see the conversations that brands take up, is very high ground conversation about what's best for the society, what people are doing, because it's a serious day. Yeah. And we realize that we as a brand are not somebody who would want to do a social campaign. But we equally have the responsibility of driving conversation around the importance of menstrual hygiene day and the problems that women go through on that particular day. So what we did was, true to our brand, we picked up the conversation, which is in a campaign we called it Zip the Advice. Uh, and the most common thing in India is the insight was that most common in India is that people love to give uh, advice, which is anything that's happening to you, we will love to give you an advice. And I think the worst that you can do to a woman on day two or during her periods is to actually tell her that, do this and things will be fine. Because she's going through a lot of pain and all she needs is empathy. So we did a campaign which was, saying zip the advice and tell us what's the stupidest advice that you got from people. And we were flooded with ideas and advices from women who basically wanted to express, because that's inbuilt frustration. So you provoke the conversation. You are not really controlling the conversation, but you provoke the conversation. You've got them engaged. You are having a conversation with them now, and they're sharing it with people that they believe that, this is relevant. This happens to us, and it's a great thing that you're helping us actually come out and talk about it. And in the process, also obviously in educating the intelligent people to take the cue and stop giving random advice. So I just hope that kind of answers your conversation question, Shrilata, that yes, it's a very tricky path to walk on. It's never easy. You do get it right, you do get it wrong. But I think when you get people to feel, because it's coming from a deep rooted insight to how humans are feeling, there's a good chance that they will start enjoying the conversation with you. Because as humans, we are evolved on the fact that we can communicate to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mukia. We will also start the next question and probably the last question of the session with you, Mr. Mukia. For years, not only years, rather for decades, we know that marketing has been one of the, topmost preferred destination of MBA students, one of the top verticals for MBA graduates. But then when you dream of something, you also need to have those skills to enter the marketing field, and it's not for everybody. So I would ask you, what is the most underrated skill that you look for when an MBA graduate is entering the marketing field?
So, Abhishek, the most simple thing that we look for is common sense. Uh, because I think the ability to observe is the most important part that a marketer needs to have if they want to build a career or grow in the career. Presentation, ability to convince, communication, all of those can be really built in. But the ability to observe, question, reason. So I think simple, common sense and ability to observe, question, and reason. That's what I look for. I'm really not expecting marketers to be rocket scientists, but simply able to question is a big boon for them.
Thank you.
I think, or
Yeah, I'll move on
Dr.
to
Bhavani.
Dr.
But I
Srilata.
just
If
wanted to add, saying
Yeah,
that,
please.
the world that we are living in, where you're getting heavily dependent on AI, our ability to comprehend, do basic math or basic calculation ahead of things that are happening is really, really getting low. So the ability of people of the younger generation to make sense of smaller things is actually getting limited because they're dependent or more on easy solution. So we are just tuning our brains to not really function anymore.
Sure. Thank you so much. So I'll of course now come to Dr. Srilata and ask her opinion on this.
Yeah, I think spot on. Like I would have said the same thing, that if there's one thing, in fact, I do tell my students, one thing that I want you to do at the end of a marketing course. There are two myths I think most people have. I can't say just students, but that the world is homogeneous. You think that you know yourself and then the world is like you. So that is one. So, and the other is that the assumptions. So you build the entire picture of the world around you based on how you operate. So a lot of times I'm telling students that please don't interview yourself. There is no such thing. You will say whatever it's, there'll be like a lot of fulfilling prophecies. To not be myopic, in the sense that what do you stand for, like keep stepping back a little bit and say, what is it that I stand for? Who is my customer? Like basic questions these are. And they're so basic that when you say it, it sounds ridiculous. But I think these are the two important things, that can I listen, not bring my own assumptions into the picture? And can I just step back and say, like, what do I stand for? And am I responding to the customer? I think these are the important skills. Everything else will come and go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Srilata. We, of course, can't let Dr. Fernando go without answering this question. If you can please have your views
Yeah.
on this, ma'am.
Yeah, I also have strong views on this. There are three things that I think a marketing student or marketer should have. One is empathy, right? Only when you have empathy, you can relate to the consumer and look at consumer needs. And of course, there should be any assumptions as to what the consumer needs. The myopic part that Professor mentioned. For example, you had Big Gets ex-CEO talking about why they thought that the 10-minute delivery was not necessary for the customer, and they lost hope for that. So empathy and understanding the consumer is very essential. The second thing, this is for students. So all of them think that marketing is about creating advertisements and being very creative. So while that is definitely essential, they should be willing to go to the field, talk to customers, talk to distributors. That's the not so glamorous part of it. So I wish more students would engage in those kind of activities. For example, the Vim bar, unless you go to the field, how would you know? So it's not essentially something historic, the historic that you're creating. And it's not only the creative part, you should be willing to work hard. And the third most important thing that I tell my students is they think that picking up marketing does not require finance, right? So that is something I strongly disagree, because unless you know how to read those numbers, how can you connect it to strategy? You should know what your acquisition costs are and how long is the customer going to stay with you, what does the competitor earn. So students should also look at the marketing and finance interface and not treat marketing as an entirely creative exercise. So these are three things I think a marketer should.
Very interesting take, and a very yeah, I must say that it's a very interesting take when you say that, students today should also be aware of finance, because the basics of it are needed in to succeed in marketing. Thank you so much, all three of you, to have taken time and participating in this discussion. I can't leave this without thanking you for coming into the session, joining us. Next, we will move on to announcing the results of our June case study contest. If I can request to display the slides, please. So the first prize winner, the winner of our June case study contest, can we please have the slide? Is Prasad Raghupati Bhatt from RNS Institute of Technology, Department of MBA and Research Center, Bangalore. He wins a cash prize of 5,000. Many congratulations, Prasad, for being the winner of our June case study contest. We move on to the first runner-up, please. So it is Chirag Chaturvedi from Dr. B.C. Roy Engineering College, Durgapur, West Bengal, wins a cash prize of 3,000. Many congratulations, Chirag, for this wonderful achievement. We move on to the third prize winner. It is Nandini Nandan Singh from ICFI Business School, Gurgaon. Many congratulations, Nandini, for this remarkable achievement. Wins a cash prize of 2,000 rupees. For all the students, I must say that, there is no point in getting disheartened at all, because you can always be among the winners in the next case study contest. So all of you did remarkably well in the case study contest. And you can all congratulate yourselves for this remarkable achievement. I would, if we have all three of the winners, I would first, I just invite Nandini Nandan Singh to speak a few words, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nandini Nandan Singh. I'm from IBS Gurgaon. Thank you so much. I'm really honored to have this opportunity of doing a case study. And I really want to thank my professor, my brand management professor, Miss Dr. Rachita Kashyap. She really pushed me forward to do this case study, and I'm really glad to have received this award.
Thank you so much, Nandini, and many congratulations for this remarkable achievement. Next, may I invite Chirag Chaturvedi to speak a few words? Chirag, if you are here.
Hello, good evening to everyone. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I would like to thank my faculty, and special thanks to Dr. Arunava Mukherjee ma'am. She pushed me really hard for this opportunity, and I would like to thank the BSmart team for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chirag, and well done. Many congratulations for winning it. Next, may we invite the winner of June case study contest, Prasad Raghupati Bhatt, to speak a few words, please.
Good evening, sir. My name is Prasad Raghupati Bhatt, and I am currently pursuing my MBA at RNS Institute of Technology, Bangalore. I am truly honored and grateful to achieve this recognition today. First of all, I would like to say thanks to the BSmart competition organizations for organizing this wonderful case discussion. A student like me, it helped me a great opportunity to learn, think clarity, and solve real-world business problems. Competition like this helps us to improve our skills and prepare us for our future discussions. I would like to heartfully thanks my to the speakers for sharing their valuable insights and business perspective with us. And I would also like to thank RNS Institute of Technology Bangalore principal, dean, faculty members, and mentors for their constant support. Thank you, BSmart, for once again.
Thank you so much, Prasad. We will now reveal the case study for the month of July. Can we please have the slide? Can we please have the slide for the July month's case study, please? So we are launching the July month's case study tomorrow, and the title is Translating FIFA Fandom to Local Glory. We obviously cannot just ignore the craze around FIFA. And, it's a very interesting take that Indians are the huge fans of the FIFA World Cup, but then local leagues lack that kind of appeal. So we have posed a question to the students. Can you tap the FIFA magic and elevate the India's football brand? Interesting to get their answers. We will launch the case study tomorrow. And can we move on to the timelines, please? So the launching date is tomorrow, as I said. July 15 is the submission date. We will declare the results along with the webinar on July 31st. And August 9 is when we disburse the prize money. Again, the first winner will get a cash award of 5,000, followed by the first runner-up who will win 3,000, and the second runner-up who wins 2,000. So thank you so much, all of you, every one of you, for participating in this webinar. Before we go, we would, love to hear their experience. All the panelist members, if you can, please share your experience one by one. We can maybe start with Dr. Srilata.
Oh, thank you so much, Abhishek. This was a great opportunity. I think, first of all, to interact with, colleagues and with Rishi was really nice. And I think insights from different, I think, put together a really nice, diverse panel. So I really learned a lot. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Srilata. We would invite Dr. Fernando to speak a few words, please.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me to the panel, and it was an interesting conversation to hear different perspectives, and of course, hear about real life. Whatever based on Mr. Rishi's experience and of course, Professor's perspective. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Fernando. We would, of course, move to Mr. Rishi Murkia, please, if you can conclude with your ending notes.
Abhishek, thanks for having me on the panel, and it's been a pleasure to have spent the time to speak to the panelists, and always great to go back to people who teach and learn from them because they are far more intelligent than what you are. So, been pleasure to learn from the lovely ladies, and pleasure to meet the young kids who've done great on the case study. And I wish luck to the next case study participants.
Thank you so much, Mr. Murkia, and thank you so much, Dr. Srilata and Dr. Fernando, for this, participating in this session. I'm sure it is going to be a great learning experience for all the viewers. It has been a branding masterclass by all three of you. Thank you so much once again from BSmart Business Standard, and we conclude the webinar here. We would love to have you again in any of the future sessions organized by BSmart Business Standard. Thank you all the students and all the faculties for participating. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.